The morning light filtered through stained glass, casting jewel-toned shadows across the empty church. I ran my finger along the last pew, checking for dust one final time. 6 a.m., and I'd already been here for an hour, making sure everything was perfect for Lisa's big day. Perfect. That word had defined our friendship for 20 years. Lisa was perfect, the kind of woman who could charm a room without trying, who never had a hair out of place. And I was perfectly happy being the one who made sure her life ran smoothly. The flowers for the altar are wrong, I muttered to myself, adjusting white roses that were already flawless. My phone buzzed with a text from the caterer. Crisis number 3 of the morning, and the sun had barely risen. That's what best friends are for, right? Especially when you're the maid of honor. Especially when the bride has been your other half since 4th grade, when she stood up to Becky Miller after she called me Mouse for being too quiet. I smiled at the memory as I fixed the satin ribbon on the flower arrangement. Lisa had always been my protector. I'd always been her rock. It worked. The heavy wooden door at the back of the church creaked open, and I froze. No one was supposed to be here yet. The bridal party wasn't arriving until 9, and Raphael's groomsmen were meeting at his family's estate. I'm telling you, it's all set. Lisa's voice echoed through the empty church. My first instinct was to call out, but something in her tone made me hesitate. I ducked behind a stone pillar instead. And you're sure he doesn't suspect anything? A man's voice, unfamiliar. Raphael, please, he's completely clueless. Thinks I'm his dream come true. Lisa laughed, but it wasn't her usual laugh. This one had edges, sharp enough to cut. And the prenup? Handled. My lawyer slipped in those amendments. Once we're married, I'll have access to the trust within 6 months. His family won't know what hit them. My heart hammered against my ribs so hard I was certain they could hear it. This couldn't be happening. Not Lisa. Not to Raphael, who looked at her like she hung the moon, who had spent weeks designing her engagement ring because nothing in the stores was special enough for her. What about Maria? The man asked. My blood went cold at the sound of my name. What about her? Lisa's voice was dismissive. Maria's harmless, loyal to a fault. She'd never believe I could do something like this, even if someone told her directly. The bouquet I'd been clutching fell from my hands. A single petal detached, drifting to the floor like a tear. She's been useful, though, Lisa continued. Knows everything about Raphael's family. Tells me every little detail, thinking she's helping with wedding planning. It's almost too easy. I pressed my hand against my mouth to keep from making a sound. Every conversation we'd had over the past year replayed in my mind. All those questions about Raphael's family business, his inheritance, his relationship with his parents. I'd answered everything, thinking I was helping my best friend connect with her future in-laws. I'd been her unwitting accomplice. And after? The man asked. A year, maybe 2, long enough to secure the money, then a heartbreaking divorce. Poor Lisa, whose husband became distant and cold. She laughed again. I've already started documenting our problems. A few strategic texts I've sent myself from his phone while he was sleeping. Some concerning emails I've drafted from his account. My stomach lurched. I'd held Lisa's hair back when she had food poisoning in college. I'd stayed up all night when her dad died. I'd been the one she called sobbing when she thought Raphael was going to break up with her 6 months ago. Had any of it been real? You're brilliant, you know that? The man's voice was closer now. I know, Lisa replied, and I could hear the smile in her voice. Let's get out of here before someone shows up. I need to play the nervous bride for a few more hours. Their footsteps retreated, the heavy door closing behind them. I slid down the pillar until I hit the floor, my bridesmaid dress pooling around me like spilled wine. What do you do when the person you trust most in the world turns out to be someone you never knew at all? My phone lit up with a text. Lisa, where are you? I'm heading to the bridal suite early. Need my best friend. I stared at those words, best friend, until they blurred. The church door opened again. I scrambled to my feet, wiping tears I hadn't realized were falling. Lisa stood in the doorway, radiant in casual clothes, her wedding dress waiting at the venue. Maria, what are you doing here so early? Her smile was the same one I'd known my entire life. I opened my mouth, but no words came out. She walked toward me, concern creasing her perfect brow. Are you okay? You look like you've seen a ghost. I heard you, I finally managed. my voice barely a whisper. Lisa's expression shifted so subtly most people would miss it, but I knew every micro-expression on that face, or I thought I did. Heard what? She asked, head tilting in confusion. Everything. The prenup, the plan, using me to get information. For one heartbeat, she maintained her innocent expression. Then it melted away, replaced by something cold and calculating I'd never seen before. Well, she said, straightening her shoulders, that's unfortunate timing. She stepped closer, close enough that I could smell her signature perfume, the one I'd helped her pick for the wedding. What are you going to do about it, Maria? She whispered. Who do you think they'll believe, the perfect bride or the jealous best friend? Her smile returned, but now I could see the predator behind it. This is only the beginning, she said softly, and you're either with me or you're in my way. Rain pounded against Sienna's apartment windows, matching the storm inside my head. 3 days since the wedding that never happened. 3 days since I'd watched Lisa's face transform from my best friend into a stranger. Drink this. Sienna pressed a mug of tea into my hands. The warmth seeped into my fingers, but the chill inside me remained. I keep thinking I dreamed it all, I said, staring into the amber liquid. That I'll wake up and Lisa will call me, laughing about some stupid thing Raphael did. Sienna sat beside me on her overstuffed couch, tucking her feet under her. You did the right thing, Maria. Telling Raphael before the ceremony. The right thing. Was it? The memory of Raphael's face when I pulled him aside in the vestry haunted me. The disbelief, then anger, then devastating realization when he confronted Lisa and saw the truth in her eyes. He thanked me yesterday, I said quietly. Called to thank me for saving him from her. See, that's something. I shook my head. You don't understand. When he thanked me, I felt guilty, like I'd betrayed her. That's 20 years of friendship talking, not reason. Sienna reached for my hand. Lisa was using you, using him. She doesn't deserve your loyalty. My phone buzzed on the coffee table. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. She hasn't tried to contact you? Sienna asked. Not since she screamed that I'd ruined her life in front of the entire wedding party. I attempted a smile but failed. Hard to come back from that. The phone buzzed again. Same unknown number. Maybe you should answer, Sienna suggested. What if it's Raphael from a different phone? I picked up the phone. Hello? Silence then. Is this Maria? A man's voice. Familiar, but I couldn't place it. Who's asking? Someone who knows what Lisa was really planning. A pause. And what she's planning now. My heart stuttered. Who is this? A friend. Check your email in 5 minutes. The line went dead. Sienna leaned forward. What was that about? I don't know. I stared at my phone, then at my laptop sitting on her kitchen counter. But I think I'm about to find out. 5 minutes felt like 5 hours. When my email notification finally chimed, I nearly dropped my mug rushing to the computer. The message contained no text, just an attachment, an audio file. Should I? I asked Sienna. She nodded, eyes wide. But be careful. I clicked play, and Lisa's voice filled the room. I can't believe she ruined everything. Her words were slurred, angry. You underestimated her. The same male voice from the phone call. Maria, please. She's pathetic. Has been since we were kids. So desperate for friendship, she'd do anything I asked. Each word was a fresh cut. I'd spent 2 decades believing we were equals, sisters in everything but blood. Well, she wasn't pathetic enough to let you scam Raphael, the man said. This isn't over. Lisa's voice hardened. I've invested too much time. That trust fund is still within reach. How? The wedding's off. For now. But Raphael's not as strong as he thinks. A few weeks of the right kind of attention, some well-placed doubts about Maria's motives. And the other plan, with his father's company? Still on. That's why I need you to keep Caden in line. He gets nervous when things don't go exactly as planned. The recording ended. I sat frozen, staring at the screen. Maria? Sienna's voice seemed to come from far away. What other plan is she talking about? I shook my head slowly. I don't know, but it sounds like she's not done with Raphael. You have to warn him. With what? An anonymous recording I can't verify? I close the laptop. He'll think I'm making it up, or worse, that I'm obsessed with his ex. Then what are you going to do? The question hung in the air between us. What could I do? Lisa had been my closest friend. I knew her habits, her tells, her weaknesses, but I'd clearly never known her heart. I need to find out what this other plan is, I said finally, and who Caden is. Maria. Sienna's voice held a warning. This isn't your responsibility. Isn't it? I introduced them. I vouched for her character for 2 years. The guilt that had been simmering inside me began to boil over. I told him he could trust her with his life. That doesn't make you responsible for her actions. Maybe not, but it makes me responsible for stopping her. I stood up, suddenly restless. I know things about Lisa that no one else does. If she's planning something else, I might be the only one who can figure it out. Sienna looked at me for a long moment. This isn't just about protecting Raphael, is it? I turned to the window, watching raindrops race down the glass. When I heard her in the church, talking about me like I was nothing, I've never felt so small, so stupid. My reflection stared back at me, hollow-eyed and pale. I need to know if anything was real. My phone buzzed again. A text this time, from the same unknown number. Lisa's meeting Caden tomorrow. 2 p.m., Harborview Hotel Bar. If you want to know more, be there. Sit at the back, don't let them see you. I showed Sienna the message. This could be dangerous, she said. What if it's a trap? What if it's not? I countered. What if this is my only chance to find out what she's really planning? Before Sienna could respond, another text came through. P.S. Check the attachments in your email again. There's more you need to see about Raphael's family inheritance. The clock is ticking. I looked up at Sienna, my decision already made. I'm going, I said. Tomorrow, I'm going to find out exactly who Lisa Sanderson really is. My hands trembled as I opened my laptop, the wedding planning spreadsheet still mocking me from the desktop. I'd organized everything, the flowers, the catering, the seating chart that took 3 weeks to perfect, all for a ceremony that ended in chaos and tears. I clicked on my email, heart pounding as I downloaded the new attachments. Legal documents filled my screen, dense with terminology I barely understood, but certain phrases jumped out at me. Olson Family Trust, disbursement conditions, majority shareholder vote. I scrolled through page after page until I found it, a highlighted section about Raphael's inheritance. According to the document, he was set to receive controlling interest in his family's company on his 30th birthday, just 6 months away, or immediately upon his marriage, whichever came first. The pieces clicked together with sickening clarity. Lisa hadn't just been after money. She'd been after power. My phone rang, startling me. Raphael's name flashed on the screen. Hey, I answered, trying to sound normal. Maria. His voice was rough, like he hadn't slept. Sorry to call so early. I glanced at the clock, 6:47 a.m. I hadn't slept either. It's fine. How are you holding up? A bitter laugh. About as well as you'd expect. Listen, I need to ask you something. I tensed. Okay. Did Lisa ever mention someone named Caden to you? My breath caught. Caden? No. Why? My father's security team found some concerning communications. Apparently, Lisa's been in contact with someone by that name for months. They think he might be connected to a competitor trying to gain access to our company. I closed my eyes, the confirmation of my fears washing over me. Raphael, there's something I need to tell you. I explained about the anonymous caller, the recording, the meeting at the Harborview. With each word, his breathing grew heavier. I'm coming with you, he said when I finished. No. The word came out sharper than I intended. If Lisa sees you, she'll know something's wrong. I need to do this alone. It could be dangerous. It's Lisa, I said, then realized that meant nothing anymore. The Lisa I knew didn't exist. I'll be in a public place. I'll be careful. Silence stretched between us. There's something else, I added. I received documents about your family trust, about your inheritance. What? How? The same anonymous source. Raphael, I think Lisa was after controlling interest in your family's company. The documents say you get it when you turn 30 or when you marry. His curse was soft but vehement. That explains why she was pushing so hard to move the wedding date up. I'm so sorry, I whispered. I should have seen through her. Don't. His voice softened. You're the reason I'm not married to her right now. You saved me, Maria. The words should have comforted me. Instead, they felt like another weight on my shoulders. I hadn't saved him because I was smart or perceptive. I'd saved him by accident. I'll call you after the meeting tomorrow, I promised. After hanging up, I stared at the wedding spreadsheets still open on my desktop. With sudden fury, I selected them all and hit delete. Watching them disappear felt like lancing a wound. Painful, but necessary. The Harborview Hotel bar was all gleaming wood and soft jazz, the kind of place where business deals happened over $18 cocktails. I arrived 30 minutes early, choosing a corner table partially hidden by a large potted plant. Perfect for observation, just as my anonymous guide had suggested. I ordered a club soda and tried to look like I belonged, though my heart was hammering so loud I was sure everyone could hear it. The bartender gave me a curious look as he delivered my drink. Waiting for someone? He asked. I nodded, not trusting my voice. Lucky guy, he said with a wink before moving on to other customers. I almost laughed. There was nothing lucky about any of this. At 1:55, the door opened, and Lisa walked in. My stomach clenched at the sight of her. Immaculate as always in a fitted black dress, her hair swept into a perfect updo. She scanned the room with the confidence of someone who knew their worth down to the penny. I shrank further into my corner, grateful for the plant's broad leaves. Lisa took a seat at the bar, ordered something clear with lime, and checked her watch. At exactly 2, a man entered, tall with dark hair and the kind of looks that drew attention. He spotted Lisa immediately and joined her, leaning in to kiss her cheek with familiar ease. Caden. Had to be. I pulled out my phone and, pretending to check messages, snapped several photos of them together. Their body language screamed intimacy, the way she touched his arm, the way he leaned into her space. Still salvageable. I caught fragments of their conversation as a nearby table emptied. Raphael is vulnerable right now. His father's suspicious, Caden replied. The security team... Lisa laughed, the sound sending chills down my spine. It was her real laugh, the one I thought had been reserved for moments of genuine joy between us. His father's old and paranoid, and Raphael... She leaned closer to Caden. Raphael still has a weakness. What's that? Lisa's smile was predatory. Maria, he trusts her completely, and she's so predictably noble. My hands went cold. What was she implying? You think you can still use her? Caden sounded skeptical. I think she'll be exactly where I need her to be, just like always. They lowered their voices again, heads close together over what looked like documents. I strained to hear more, but the ambient noise of the bar drowned them out. After what felt like hours, but was probably 20 minutes, they gathered their things. Lisa kissed Caden deeply before they parted ways. She toward the lobby, he toward the side exit. I waited until they were both gone before exhaling fully. My hands shook as I gathered my purse. Whatever Lisa was planning, it involved me somehow. And Raphael. As I stood to leave, my phone buzzed with a text from the unknown number. Now you see. Check your email again. There's footage from Raphael's security system you need to watch. She's been in his house when he's not home. Multiple times. I froze, a new realization dawning. This wasn't just about stopping Lisa's plan anymore. This was about protecting myself from becoming her unwitting weapon. The security footage played on my laptop screen, crystal clear and damning. Lisa moving through Raphael's house with the confidence of someone who belonged there, opening drawers in his home office, photographing documents, planting what looked like a small listening device behind his desk. I watched her slip into his bedroom and emerge 10 minutes later, typing something on her phone with a satisfied smile. The timestamp showed this was just 3 weeks ago, when she'd told me she was at a bridal fitting. I closed the laptop, feeling sick. How many other lies had I swallowed without question? My phone rang. Raphael. Did you see it? His voice was tight with anger. Yes. I rubbed my temples, a headache forming. I'm so sorry, Raphael. Stop apologizing. This isn't your fault. He sighed heavily. Did you learn anything at the hotel? I told him about Lisa and Caden, their conversation, The way Lisa had mentioned using me somehow. I don't like this, Raphael said when I finished. She's planning something and you're in her crosshairs. I know, but that gives me an advantage. The idea had been forming since I left the hotel. She thinks I'm predictable, that she knows exactly how I'll react. Maria, I need to see what's in your house. Whatever she planted, whatever she was looking for, it might tell us what she's planning. Silence stretched between us. It's not safe, he finally said. Neither is doing nothing. I stood up, suddenly restless. She's not going to stop, Raphael. Not until she gets what she wants. Another pause. Fine, but not alone. I'll meet you there in an hour. Raphael's house was exactly what you'd expect from the heir to a tech fortune. Sleek, modern, and filled with gadgets that probably cost more than my car. But it wasn't cold. Family photos lined the hallway. A half-finished puzzle took up part of the dining table. Where should we start? I asked, feeling strangely nervous now that I was here. The office. That's where she spent the most time according to the footage. He led me down a hallway, his shoulders tense. The office was immaculate. Glass desk, ergonomic chair, bookshelves filled with business texts and family photos. It looked nothing like the chaotic creative space I'd imagined. You're neater than I expected, I said, trying to lighten the mood. Raphael's smile was tight. That's my housekeeper's doing, not mine. I moved to the desk, examining it carefully. The footage showed her planting something behind here. Raphael nodded, crouching down to run his fingers along the underside of the desk. Got it, he said after a moment, producing a small black device no bigger than a button. Is that a bug? Looks like it. He placed it on the desk, staring at it with disgust. Professional grade, not something you pick up at a spy shop. A chill ran through me. How would Lisa get something like that? Caden, probably. Raphael's jaw tightened. My security team is looking into him. Seems he has connections to Vertex Technologies. Your father's competitor? Our biggest rival. They've been trying to acquire us for years. He ran a hand through his hair. If they got controlling interest, they could force a merger, I finished, the pieces clicking together. That's what Lisa was after, control of your shares. Raphael nodded grimly. Through marriage, I would have handed her everything. I continued searching the office while Raphael checked his computer for signs of tampering. In the third drawer, beneath a stack of folders, I found a small notebook. Raphael, I called, flipping it open. This isn't yours, is it? He looked up, frowning. No, what is it? Lisa's handwriting. My heart raced as I scanned the pages. Notes about Raphael's schedule, his passwords, details about his family's business holdings, and most disturbing, notes about me. Maria, too trusting. Use her connection to R's family. Already views her as sister. M knows about the Westlake project. Get details through casual conversation. M's loyalty, weakness, exploit as needed. Each word was a fresh betrayal. She'd been strategizing how to use me for months, maybe years. She was playing both of us, I whispered, handing the notebook to Raphael. He flipped through it, his expression darkening. There's more. He pointed to a page near the back. Plans for after the wedding, timetables, contact information for someone at Vertex. I leaned over his shoulder to read, our heads close together. The proximity made my heart skip in a way I didn't want to examine. She was thorough, I said, pulling back slightly. Too thorough. Raphael closed the notebook. This is evidence of corporate espionage. It's enough to... A noise from the front of the house cut him off, the sound of a key in the lock. We froze, staring at each other in alarm. Are you expecting someone? I whispered. He shook his head, reaching for his phone. Before he could call security, a familiar voice called out, Raphael, are you home? Lisa. Raphael motioned for me to stay quiet, pointing to a door that I assumed was a closet. I slipped inside just as Lisa's footsteps approached the office. Through a crack in the door, I watched her enter. She'd changed from the outfit she wore at the hotel, now dressed casually in jeans and a sweater I'd helped her pick out months ago. Lisa. Raphael's voice was controlled, betraying nothing. What are you doing here? She stepped closer, her expression a perfect mask of contrition. I came to apologize. What happened? It wasn't what you think. Really? What was it then? A mistake. I got cold feet, said things I didn't mean. Her voice broke convincingly. I love you, Raphael. I've always loved you. From my hiding place, I could see Raphael's face harden, but Lisa, focused on her performance, missed it. You still have your key, he said flatly. I was hoping that meant something. She moved closer, reaching for his hand. That some part of you still wants this to work. He stepped back, putting the desk between them. What I want is for you to leave. Lisa's expression shifted, the mask slipping for just a second. Her eyes darted to the desk, where the listening device and notebook lay in plain view. What's that? She asked, her voice suddenly sharp. Before Raphael could answer, I stepped out of the closet. Evidence, I said quietly. Lisa's head whipped toward me, her eyes widening in genuine shock before narrowing with calculation. Maria, of course you're here. Her laugh was brittle. Still trying to come between us? There is no us, Lisa, Raphael said, and we know about Caden, about Vertex, about all of it. For a moment, Lisa stood perfectly still, like a predator assessing its options. Then her posture changed, softened. You don't understand, she said, her eyes filling with tears that looked remarkably real. Caden threatened me. He said if I didn't help him, he'd hurt my family. I was trying to protect everyone. The performance was flawless. If I hadn't heard her at the hotel, seen the footage, read her notes, I might have believed her. Stop lying, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. It's over, Lisa. Her gaze locked with mine, and in that moment, the pretense vanished. What remained was cold, calculating fury. You have no idea what you've done, she said softly. This isn't over. Not by a long shot. She turned and walked out, her footsteps echoing through the house until the front door slammed. Raphael exhaled slowly. That could have gone better. I picked up the notebook, my hands trembling slightly. She knows we know. Whatever she's planning next. Will be worse, he finished grimly. We need to be ready. The clinking of silverware against fine china felt deafening in the tense silence of the Olsen family dining room. I sat beside Raphael, acutely aware I was wearing the only dress I owned that was remotely appropriate for dinner with one of the city's wealthiest families. Raphael's father, Edward, cut his steak with surgical precision, his expression unreadable. His mother, Vivian, smiled too brightly, asking me questions about my job that I answered on autopilot. This wasn't how I'd imagined meeting Raphael's parents, not as the woman who'd exposed their almost daughter-in-law as a corporate spy. So, Maria, Edward finally addressed me directly. Raphael tells me you've known Lisa for most of your life. I set down my fork. Yes, since we were 9. And you never suspected anything unusual about her intentions? The question hung in the air like a guillotine blade. Dad, Raphael warned. It's a fair question, Edward insisted. If this woman was plotting corporate espionage for years, there must have been signs. Heat crept up my neck. There were probably dozens of signs. I missed them all. Because you trusted her, Vivian said gently. Because I wanted to believe the best of her, I corrected. There's a difference. Edward studied me, his gaze clinical. And now? What do you want from all this? I don't want anything, I said, meeting his eyes. I'm trying to help clean up a mess I unknowingly helped create. By attending a family dinner, his skepticism was palpable. By discussing our next steps, Raphael interjected. Maria found Lisa's notebook. She overheard her with Caden. She's been crucial to understanding what we're up against. Edward's expression softened marginally. Yes, the notebook. My security team was quite interested in that. He turned back to me. You realize this situation is escalated beyond a personal betrayal? Vertex Technologies has been trying to acquire our company for years. With the information Lisa gathered, they could potentially force a hostile takeover. My stomach tightened. I understand. Do you? Edward leaned forward. Because my son seems to trust you implicitly, and given recent events, I find myself questioning his judgment. Dad, that's enough, Raphael snapped. No, it's okay, I said, placing my hand briefly on Raphael's arm. Your father's concern is valid. I turned back to Edward. I've spent the past week questioning every interaction I've ever had with Lisa, every confidence I shared, every time I vouched for her character. I understand your skepticism better than anyone. A heavy silence fell over the table. Well, Vivian said brightly, who's ready for dessert? Later, Raphael and I stood on the terrace overlooking the manicured garden, the night air cool against my skin. I'm sorry about my father, he said, leaning against the stone balustrade. Don't be. He's protecting his family and his company. I wrapped my arms around myself. I'd be suspicious of me too. Raphael turned to face me. But I'm not. Suspicious, I mean. Maybe you should be. The words slipped out before I could stop them. I didn't see through Lisa for 20 years, Raphael. What does that say about my judgment? It says you're loyal, that you see the best in people. He stepped closer. Those aren't flaws, Maria. Something in his voice made me look up. The intensity in his eyes caught me off guard. The board meeting is tomorrow, he said, changing the subject. My father wants to discuss countermeasures against Vertex. What can I do to help? Actually, there's someone I want you to meet. My father's lawyer, Zechariah. He's been looking into Lisa's background, and he has questions only you might be able to answer. I nodded, though anxiety fluttered in my chest. Of course. Raphael's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, frowning. It's Zechariah now, actually. He says it's urgent. He answered, putting the call on speaker. Raphael, a deep voice said without preamble. We have a situation. Lisa just filed a restraining order against Maria. What? I gasped. She's claiming harassment, stalking, and threatening behavior. Says Maria has been obsessed with you for years and orchestrated this whole situation out of jealousy. My knees weakened. I gripped the balustrade for support. That's absurd, Raphael said. We have evidence. Evidence you obtained illegally, according to her filing. Zechariah cut in. She claims Maria broke into your house and planted the notebook. I was with Maria the entire time, Raphael protested, which she's spinning as proof of your affair. She's painting herself as the victim of a conspiracy between you two. The world seemed to tilt beneath my feet. This can't be happening. It gets worse, Zechariah continued. She's given an interview to the Business Journal. It publishes tomorrow morning, right before the board meeting. Raphael cursed under his breath. Can we stop it? Not without making ourselves look guilty, but there's something else you should know. Zechariah paused. The reporter she spoke to. He's received photographs of Maria entering and leaving your house multiple times this week, and one of you two on the terrace right now. I spun around, scanning the darkness beyond the garden. Nothing but shadows. We're being watched, I whispered. She's setting the stage, Zechariah said grimly, making it look like Maria manipulated you, that she's been the puppet master all along. The realization hit me like a physical blow. Lisa wasn't just trying to salvage her plan. She was making me the scapegoat, using my friendship with Raphael to discredit us both. What do we do? I asked, my voice small. We need to meet tonight, Zechariah said. I have an idea, but it's unorthodox. Anything, Raphael replied. Name the place. My office. 1 hour. And Raphael, come separately. No more fuel for her fire. The call ended, leaving us in stunned silence. She's always been good at turning things around, I said numbly, making herself the victim when she's caught. Raphael reached for my hand, squeezing it gently. We'll fight this, Maria. Together. I looked down at our joined hands, then back at the shadowy garden where someone might still be watching, documenting this moment of connection as evidence of some fictional conspiracy. That's exactly what she wants, I said, pulling my hand away. For us to look like we're in this together, like we planned it. So what? We know the truth. The truth might not be enough. I stepped back, creating distance between us. Not against a story as compelling as the one she's creating. In the soft terrace lighting, I saw something shift in Raphael's eyes, determination hardening into resolve. Then we'll need to create a better one, he said, and I think I know how. Fallen leaves crunched beneath my feet as I walked through the park, each step matching the rhythm of my racing thoughts. The morning air was crisp, carrying the first hint of winter. I pulled my jacket tighter, less against the cold and more against the growing sense of isolation. 3 days had passed since the meeting with Zechariah. 3 days of careful planning, of staying away from Raphael, of playing the part Lisa had unwittingly assigned me, the scorned friend, retreating in shame. My phone buzzed. Sienna. Have you seen it? She asked when I answered. Seen what? The interview. It's everywhere, Maria. My stomach dropped. How bad? Bad. Her voice softened. Where are you? I'll come to you. The park near my apartment, the bench by the pond. 20 minutes later, Sienna appeared, carrying 2 coffee cups and a tablet. She handed me a coffee and sat beside me, her expression grim. You need to see this, she said, unlocking the tablet. Lisa's face filled the screen, her eyes slightly red as if she'd been crying. The headline made my blood run cold. Jilted bride speaks out, my best friend betrayed me for my fiancé. I forced myself to read, each word more twisted than the last. Lisa described our friendship as one-sided. Me, always jealous of her success, her relationships. She painted Raphael as an innocent caught between 2 manipulative women. And most damning, she suggested I'd been feeding her false information about Raphael's family business to sabotage her relationship. She's turned everything upside down, I whispered. Keep reading, Sienna urged. Near the end, Lisa expressed concern for Raphael, suggesting he was being manipulated by me and his father's paranoid fears about corporate espionage. She even managed to make her relationship with Caden sound innocent, just a friend helping her navigate her concerns about the Olsen family's business practices. The comments are worse, Sienna said softly. I scrolled down, each comment like a knife. People who didn't know me, didn't know any of us, confidently declaring me the villain, a homewrecker, a jealous, obsessive friend. I can't believe people are buying this, I said, handing the tablet back. People love a scandal, and Lisa's story hits all the right notes. Betrayal, jealousy, corporate intrigue. Sienna squeezed my hand. But it doesn't matter what they think. What matters is the truth. Does it? I stared at the pond where ducks glided across the surface, unconcerned with human drama. Lisa's winning. Again, just like she always has. This isn't like you, Maria. You don't give up. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe I should have given up on Lisa years ago, the first time I realized our friendship wasn't equal. I took a sip of coffee, welcoming the bitter warmth. Did I ever tell you about my 16th birthday? Sienna shook her head. Lisa threw me a surprise party, invited everyone from school, decorated my parents' basement. It was perfect. I smiled at the memory. Except halfway through, I overheard her telling someone she only did it because her crush would be impressed by her generosity. That's awful. The thing is, I convinced myself it didn't matter, that her reasons weren't important, only the result. I laughed hollowly. I've been doing that our entire friendship, making excuses for her, ignoring the signs. And now? Now I'm done making excuses. I stood up, suddenly restless. Zechariah has a plan. It's risky, but it might be our only chance to expose Lisa and Caden before the Olsen Company board votes tomorrow. What kind of plan? Before I could answer, my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? I answered cautiously. Maria. A male voice, vaguely familiar. It's Caden. My heart stuttered. I put the phone on speaker so Sienna could hear. What do you want? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. To meet. Just you and me. Why would I do that? Because I have information about Lisa that you need. He paused. And because I'm not as loyal to her as she thinks. I exchanged a glance with Sienna, who mouthed trap silently. How do I know this isn't a setup? I demanded. You don't. His voice was calm. But ask yourself this. Who has more to lose if the truth comes out? You or Lisa? I thought of Zechariah's plan. Complicated, dependent on timing and evidence we weren't sure existed. When and where? I finally asked. 1 hour. The boathouse at Lakeside Park. That's isolated, I protested. It's public enough to be safe, private enough to talk freely. He sounded impatient. 1 hour, Maria. Come alone or don't come at all. The call ended. You can't seriously be considering this, Sienna said. What choice do I have? Zechariah's plan might not work. This could be our backup. Or it could be Lisa's trap to make you look even worse. Sienna grabbed my arm. Think about it. You meet Caden in secret, someone takes pictures. Suddenly you're conspiring with Lisa's innocent friend against her. She was right. It was exactly the kind of setup Lisa would orchestrate. Then what do I do? I asked, frustration building. Wait for Zechariah's plan and hope it works? Hope the board believes Raphael over Lisa? Hope the truth magically comes out? No. Sienna's expression hardened with resolve. We spring their trap, but on our terms. The boathouse stood at the edge of the lake, its weathered wood blending with the autumn landscape. I approached slowly, every sense on high alert. According to our hastily revised plan, Sienna was positioned nearby with her camera, ready to document whatever happened. Caden was waiting inside, leaning against a stack of canoes. He straightened when he saw me. "You came," he said, sounding genuinely surprised. "I want to know what you know about Lisa." He studied me for a moment. "You're nothing like she described." "And how did she describe me?" "Naive, easily manipulated, blindly loyal." He shrugged. "But you figured her out. That took courage." "It took me 20 years too long," I countered. "What do you want, Caden?" "To make a deal." He stepped closer. "Lisa's plan is falling apart. Vertex is getting nervous. They're looking for someone to blame when this all goes south. And you don't want it to be you." He smiled thinly. "Smart girl. What kind of deal?" "Information for immunity. I tell you everything. About Lisa, about Vertex's plans, about who's really pulling the strings, and you make sure the Olsons don't come after me." I laughed incredulously. Why would they agree to that? Because what I know could save their company. His expression turned serious. "Lisa isn't working alone, Maria. She never was." Before I could respond, the boathouse door opened. Lisa stood in the entrance, her expression a mixture of triumph and fury. "I knew you couldn't be trusted," she said to Caden. Then to me, "And you, always so predictable." My heart sank as I realized Sienna had been right. It was a trap after all. "You set this up," I said to Caden. He at least had the decency to look apologetic. "Nothing personal." Lisa stepped into the boathouse, closing the door behind her. "Did you really think it would be this easy? That Caden would betray me for you?" "Actually," I said, finding my voice, "I was counting on it." Her smile faltered. "What?" "You're not the only one who can set a trap, Lisa." I pulled out my phone, showing her the active recording. "And you're not the only one with friends in unexpected places." On cue, the boathouse door opened again. Zechariah stepped in, followed by Raphael and 2 men I didn't recognize. "Lisa Sanderson," Zechariah said formally, "I believe you've just implicated yourself in corporate espionage. Again." Lisa's face drained of color as she realized what had happened. Her eyes locked with mine, cold with hatred. "This isn't over," she whispered. For the first time since this nightmare began, I felt something like certainty. "You're right," I agreed. "It's just beginning." The private chapel on the Olson estate felt charged with expectation, sunlight streaming through stained glass windows and casting jewel-toned patterns across the stone floor. I paced the length of the small sanctuary, my footsteps echoing in the silence. In less than an hour, everything would change. My phone buzzed with a text from Sienna. "Are you ready for this?" Was I? The plan we'd crafted with Zechariah was risky. If it failed, Lisa would walk away unscathed, possibly with enough leverage to still damage the Olsons. If it succeeded, I wasn't sure I was prepared for that either. The chapel door opened, and Raphael entered. He'd been distant since the boathouse confrontation 2 days ago. Professional, focused on the plan. But something had shifted between us. "Everything's set," he said, stopping a careful distance away. "Zechariah has the documents ready. My father's board members are arriving now." I nodded, unable to find words. "You don't have to do this," Raphael added softly. "We have enough evidence from the boathouse recording. You could walk away." "No." I met his eyes. "I need to see this through. For 20 years, Lisa made me believe I was lucky to have her friendship, that I was the taker, and she was the giver." My voice strengthened. "I need to be there when she finally faces the truth." Raphael studied me for a long moment. "You're not who I thought you were when we first met. Is that good or bad?" "Good." A small smile touched his lips. "Definitely good." Before I could respond, the door opened again. Zechariah entered, his expression grave. It's time, he said. Lisa's arrived with her lawyer. My stomach tightened. This was it. Remember, Zechariah continued, let me lead the conversation. Say nothing until I give you the signal. I took a deep breath and followed them out of the chapel, across the manicured grounds to the main house. With each step, memories of Lisa flooded my mind. Childhood secrets shared, teenage heartbreaks soothed, adult milestones celebrated. 20 years of friendship built on a foundation I now realized had always been cracked. The Olsen family's formal sitting room had been transformed into something resembling a courtroom. Edward sat at the head of a long table, flanked by stern-faced board members. Lisa was already seated on one side, a sharp-suited lawyer beside her. She didn't look up when we entered. Zechariah directed me to a seat directly across from Lisa. As I sat down, she finally raised her eyes to mine. No remorse, no shame, only cold calculation. Thank you all for coming, Edward began. We're here to address serious allegations regarding corporate espionage targeting Olsen Technologies. Lisa's lawyer leaned forward. My client has made it clear that these allegations are false, manufactured by Ms. Reyes out of jealousy and obsession. That's why we've gathered evidence beyond Ms. Reyes's testimony, Zechariah replied smoothly. He placed a folder on the table. Financial records showing payments from Vertex Technologies to an offshore account linked to Ms. Sanderson. Communications between Ms. Sanderson and Vertex executives dating back 18 months. And most damning, he paused for effect. Testimony from Caden Watson, detailing the entire operation. Lisa's composure cracked. Caden would never. Mr. Watson reached an immunity agreement with federal investigators yesterday, Zechariah interrupted, in exchange for his full cooperation. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. This wasn't just about corporate espionage anymore. This was federal territory. Lisa's lawyer whispered urgently in her ear. Her face paled. Before we proceed, Zechariah continued, Ms. Reyes has requested an opportunity to address Ms. Sanderson directly. This was my cue, the moment we'd planned for. I stood slowly, my legs steadier than I expected. Lisa, I began, my voice clear in the hushed room. For 20 years, I believed you were my best friend. I trusted you with everything. My secrets, my insecurities, my loyalty. Lisa's expression hardened. Save the dramatics, Maria. We both know this is about Raphael. No, I said firmly. This has never been about Raphael. This is about you and me, about the fact that you used our friendship as a weapon, that you calculated every moment of connection between us. You have no idea what you're talking about. Don't I? I reached into my bag and pulled out a small worn journal. Lisa's eyes widened in recognition. Your diary from senior year. The one you lost at my house. The one where you wrote about befriending the quiet, desperate girl because her father worked for the university admissions office. Murmurs rippled through the room. Lisa's lawyer placed a restraining hand on her arm. You kept that all these years? Lisa asked, her voice barely audible. I found it when I was cleaning out my childhood bedroom last week. I was going to return it to you. I laughed softly. I thought it might have sentimental value. It doesn't prove anything, she said, but uncertainty had crept into her voice. Maybe not legally, but it proves something to me. I opened the journal to a marked page. You wrote, Maria is so pathetically grateful for attention that she'll do anything I ask. It's almost too easy. The words hung in the air between us. For the first time since this began, I saw genuine emotion in Lisa's eyes. Not remorse, but fear. Fear that her carefully constructed image was crumbling. We were teenagers, she said dismissively. Everyone's cruel at that age. But most people grow out of it. I closed the journal. You just got better at hiding it. I turned to address the room. I'm not here for revenge. I'm here because Lisa Sanderson has spent her entire adult life manipulating people for personal gain. She targeted Raphael and his family with calculation and precision. And she used our friendship, a friendship I believed was real, to do it. Lisa stood abruptly. This is absurd. You have no proof of anything except that I wrote some mean things as a teenager. Actually, Zechariah interjected, we have this. He pressed a button on a remote, and a recording filled the room. Lisa's voice, crystal clear. You set this up, nothing personal. Then, my voice. You're not the only one who can set a trap, Lisa. Lisa's face drained of color as the boathouse conversation played out. When it ended, the silence in the room was deafening. Ms. Sanderson, Edward said finally, I believe this meeting is over. Lisa's lawyer gathered their papers, whispering urgently in her ear. But Lisa wasn't listening. She was staring at me with a mixture of hatred and something else, something that looked almost like respect. As she stood to leave, she paused beside my chair. You know what's funny? She said quietly. After all these years, I never thought you had it in you. I met her gaze steadily. That was always your mistake. For a fleeting moment, I glimpsed the girl I'd thought was my friend, vulnerable, human. Then her mask slipped back into place. This isn't over, she whispered. Yes, Lisa, I replied, feeling a weight lift from my shoulders. It is. Steam rose from the tea in my hands as I sat on my apartment balcony, watching the city wake up. The morning air carried the scent of rain and possibility. For the first time in weeks, I'd slept through the night without dreaming of Lisa or betrayal or the look in her eyes when everything fell apart. My phone buzzed with a news alert. Vertex Technologies CEO resigns amid corporate espionage scandal. I smiled faintly. The dominoes were still falling. A knock at my door pulled me from my thoughts. I wasn't expecting anyone, especially not at 7 a.m. Through the peephole, I saw a delivery person holding a small package. Maria Reyes? She asked when I opened the door. That's me. Sign here, please. The package was lightweight, unmarked except for my name and address. No return information. I set it on my kitchen counter, studying it with suspicion. After everything that had happened, paranoia felt justified. Finally, curiosity won. I carefully opened the package to find a thumb drive and a handwritten note. You deserve to know everything. See, Caden. My hands trembled slightly as I plugged the drive into my laptop. It contained a single video file. I hesitated, then clicked play. Lisa appeared on screen, sitting in what looked like a hotel room. She was speaking to someone off camera. The Maria angle is perfect, she was saying, taking a sip from a wine glass. She trusts me completely. Through her, I can get close to Raphael without raising suspicions. And you're sure she doesn't suspect anything? A male voice. Caden's. Lisa laughed. Maria, please. She's spent her whole life in my shadow, grateful for whatever scraps of attention I throw her way. I flinched at the casual cruelty, but kept watching. What about your history? Caden asked. You've known each other since childhood. There must be some genuine connection. Lisa's expression shifted, something almost vulnerable crossing her face. We were friends once, real friends, before I understood how the world works. When did that change? She was quiet for a moment. Senior year. My father lost everything in that investment scheme. Suddenly we were broke and all my so-called friends disappeared. Except Maria. Lisa's voice hardened. That's when I realized the truth. People are assets or obstacles. Maria was useful, so I kept her close. And now? Now she's the key to everything. Lisa smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. The perfect pawn who doesn't even know she's on the board. The video ended. I sat motionless, processing what I'd just seen. Even knowing everything Lisa had done, hearing her speak about me with such calculated detachment still hurt. But something else nagged at me. Something in her expression when she mentioned our past friendship. A flicker of regret? My doorbell rang again. This time, Raphael stood in the hallway, holding coffee in a paper bag that smelled like cinnamon. Peace offering, he said, holding them up. I thought you might need breakfast after yesterday. I let him in, grateful for the distraction. Have you seen the news? About Vertex? Yes. My father's ecstatic. He set the coffee on my counter, noticing my laptop. What's that? A gift from Caden. Apparently he's still trying to secure his immunity deal. Raphael's expression darkened. More evidence against Lisa? In a way. I closed the laptop. It doesn't matter anymore. Doesn't it? He studied me carefully. You still care about her. I care about who I thought she was. I took a sip of the coffee he'd brought. There's a difference. We moved to the balcony. The city spread before us like a promise. For a while, we sat in comfortable silence. What happens now? I finally asked. Legally, Lisa's facing federal charges. Caden too, probably, despite his cooperation. Raphael shrugged. My family's company is safe. The board voted unanimously to implement new security protocols. That's not what I meant. He smiled slightly. I know. Another silence stretched between us, filled with unspoken possibilities. I'm selling my wedding planning business, I said suddenly. Raphael looked surprised. Why? You're good at it. I was good at it because I lived for other people's happiness, making their dreams come true because I didn't have any of my own. I turned to face him. I don't want to do that anymore. What do you want, Maria? The question hung in the air between us. 6 weeks ago, I wouldn't have had an answer. My entire identity had been wrapped up in being Lisa's loyal friend, in being needed, in being useful. I want to find out who I am without Lisa's shadow over me, I said finally. I want to trust my own judgment again. I hesitated, then continued more firmly. I want to build connections that are real, not convenient, not useful, just real. Raphael nodded slowly. That sounds like a good place to start. My phone chimed with a text. I expected Sienna or Zechariah, but the number was unfamiliar. I meant what I said. It's not over. But maybe not in the way you think. When you're ready to hear the whole truth, not just Caden's version, you know where to find me. L. I stared at the message, a complex emotion rising in my chest. Not quite anger, not quite curiosity. Something in between. Lisa? Raphael asked, reading my expression. Yes. What does she want? I put the phone down without replying. It doesn't matter right now. And for the first time, I meant it. Whatever game Lisa was still playing, whatever truth she claimed to have, it could wait. I had spent 20 years revolving around her son. Now it was time to find my own light. You know what the strangest part is? I said, watching a pair of birds soar between buildings. In trying to destroy me, Lisa accidentally set me free. Raphael's hand found mine on the balcony railing, warm and steady. Not a promise, not yet, but a possibility. And for now, that was enough.